This meeting is being recorded.
I'm leaving this meeting. Don't record me. Okay, ready. All right. 3, 2,
I'm
1.
just going to mute myself.
Hello. Welcome to Kill the Bottle Podcast. That is Maura, aka the Yum Yum Foodie. And having a sip of something is Megan right over there. What are you drinking, Megs?
Sparkling water.
All right, it was worth a shot. So it is called Kill the Bottle Podcast, and in honor of our guest, who I'll introduce in just a few minutes, I have a few different guys behind me. That didn't sound right. I have a few bottles of stuff behind me that I will be sipping on throughout, and I have a few different Amaros. I've got some of the stuff that's easy to find because I want folks to listen to this and say, hey, this is something chances are I can find. Some of the really cool stuff at our guests' home bar is going to probably be a little bit more challenging to find, but I also love knowing about those things. That's something about what makes talking to folks like our guests so exciting. Megs, I don't know if you remember the last episode. I mentioned that I had like a breakdown cry moment about my dad, and I was talking about music, and I couldn't remember what song it was that I wanted to be able to like share with him and like talk about the lyrics and all that stuff. And I can't really do that anymore. I found out what it was today, and it's the. Now I'm having like a brain fart. It's The Joke by Brandi Carlile. It's probably her live performance at the Grammys is the one that got me, and then I saw her on Ellen doing her performance there, and I dove into like a black hole of Brandi Carlile, and which is a good black hole to be in, but that's the one that like broke me to tears thinking about not being able to talk about music with my dad, even though my dad is still here. So the joke's on me, I guess, right? Anyway,
Right.
how was your day?
Bummer.
Well, I'm about being honest. So if I can't tell you the truth, then I'm just Instagram. So no, I
don't know that song either. So that this whole
cool.
conversation's hard to talk about with
I'm
you.
excited to share that song with you because it is moving. So I'm gonna share it with you. I'll send it to you after the show's over. But now it's time to get to the show. Besides that, Megan, you good? With your sparkling water? Are you drinking fancy? Are you drinking that Soda Stream you keep bitching about? Or are you drinking? No? Megan keeps bitching to me about. Don't give Megan anything, guys. Here's the thing. Don't give her anything. She will figure out a way to complain about whatever you give her. You can give her $1,000. She'll figure a way to complain about the $1,000 you gave her.
It's just not enough.
It's never enough.
That won't cover putting my dog down.
That's a dark truth. It's a very dark truth.
I will find a way to complain about $1,000.
You will find a way.
Half my rent.
One thing you will never find me complaining about is visiting the bar where I met our guest this week. He is first of all, I love like hearing about people's awards because I get uncomfortable with any kind of award. And I saw his speech and he was like, man, he was really, either he was shitty faced or he was really comfortable. But our guest this week was Wine Enthusiast Mixologist of the Year, former president of the New York chapter of the United States Bartenders Guild, beverage director where I met him at a bitters bar, I like to call it, but Amor y Amargo right in the Lower East Side, named one of the top 25 bars in North America. And he hosts a really fun drinking show of sorts. I mean, it's definitely he's a lot nicer than we are. But he hosts a wonderful show called Speakeasy on Heritage Radio. And anyway, I want to welcome to Kill the Bottle Podcast my friend Sother Teague. Welcome, sir.
Eddie, I'm so excited to finally be here. We've been talking about this for a little while, and I've been listening to your episodes, and it's a great show, and I'm stoked to be on board.
Man, first of all, I'm super excited to have you on. I'm just gonna start before we get into anything with a fun little story about you.
Okay.
I was at a bar here in LA a couple nights ago, and a bartender there was making me his interpretation of the Presidente, one of my favorite cocktails. And anyway, he starts talking to me about certain bitters and things that they're working on at this bar Dama in downtown LA. I'll take you to it, Megan. It's a lot of fun. And anyway, he brought up Amor y Amargo, and he brought up him coming from Colombia, going to New York for the first time. His bartender friends taking him to Amor y Amargo, meeting you, and you taking him on this journey of bitters and Amaros that he had never fathomed or experienced before. And this somewhat shy bartender was just lit up telling a great story about you, and that's you in a nutshell. You are just an extremely generous and good person in the bar industry, which is it's good to see that.
I've been called a relentless hospitalitarian, which sounds like aggressive, and it kind of is, and I feel like that's what I do, right? I sum up my entire life by saying one sentence twice, right? And you say it two different ways, and it tells the whole story of my life. I throw a party every night. I throw a party every night, right?
Megan will
So
find a way to complain about it. Don't worry, Megan. Throw the party for Megan. She'll bitch about it somehow.
I
She'll
love how
figure
you
out-
said that, and I relate
Yeah.
to you now.
It's super exciting and I love it, but it's exhausting. But the thing is, I do it because I love it. And when people come into the bar and they have any spark of interest in what I'm doing, like how flattering is that? Like I built a thing and people are interested in it and they want to come in and ask me questions and they want to, kind of put me over the coals and grill me. I'm so excited every time. And so I'm sure I don't remember that bartender. If you said their name, maybe I'd remember, but
it's okay.
But that's how I treat everyone. You don't have to be a bartender to get special treatment from me. I try and make everyone have a great time. And that's even how I met you. You were upstairs at Cienfuegos, the bar above me that no longer exists.
The Cuban bar.
But I brought you down and showed you some other stuff and showed you what Amore Amargo is all about. I have a drink to have for Kill the Bottle. I don't want to talk about this a little bit if we can.
What do you got?
By the way, Megan, I want to go back to you. Sparkling water is almost all I drink. In 2000, my New Year's resolution was to drink water only for a year, and I did it.
Yeah. You did it?
Yeah, I did it. And then in 2001, and mostly it was sparkling water. 2001, I said I can have alcohol again, but just alcohol and water, and I never changed that. So I only drink water and alcohol. I haven't had a glass of juice, milk, coffee, soda, anything. Water and alcohol, mostly sparkling water, for 23 years now.
Oh, I don't think I could do the coffee, but the rest of it, that sounds great. Good job.
Thank you. So to that end, I built a rig in my house to make better sparkling water than you can get out of any of the commercial machines you buy. And it's the same rig that we built when we opened up Booker and Dax. And it costs about $100, which is what you probably spent on your Soda Stream. And you have
somebody gave it to her and she bitched about it.
You have greater control. Oh, who gave it to her? You?
No.
And then you have greater control.
She'd never hear the end of it. Sorry.
Yeah, you have greater control over the level of fizz that you have in your water. So if you want, we can talk about that off air, and we can set you up with all the components that you need to build your own system.
I could build my own.
Oh, it's so easy. Just a few components.
And I will. I'm sick of the gas canisters already, and I've changed it just once.
Right. Well, with the unit that we build, it wouldn't rely on those. You can get a 5-pound tank, which would probably be plenty for several months. Or if you can get a 10-pound, if you got room, you get a 50-pound. You probably need to change it for 2 years.
I want it. All right. What are we drinking?
I'm drinking. So you mentioned at the top of the shows, some of the stuff you can get at my bar, you can't necessarily get everywhere. This one's starting to become more popular. I'm holding it up for the camera for you. This is called Eda Rhine Amaro Flora. And this is a domestic Amaro, right? Meaning it's made here in America. It's made down in North Carolina. The guys down there, they forage for over 90% of all the botanicals that they use in all of their products.
Wow.
So these guys they consider themselves like mountain distillers. They harken back to like the traditional methodologies. So they're out there foraging, and they make a gin, a whiskey, a vodka, and then they make several of these botanicals, which are of course what I love. And Amaro Flora is, it's forest floor, it's roots, it's bark, it's trees. It's got a huge nose of like wild flowers. I would guess they don't tell you. Amaro makers are notoriously secretive, but I would guess there's some honey in here as the sweetening agent. It is delightful, and I'm going to crack it open. But I wanted to hold it up to the camera for you. You see, it's been sitting on my shelf for a minute. It's got a little sediment that's collecting in the bottom, so it's unfiltered. So you give it a shake just to kind of redistribute.
Yeah, you got to watch his YouTube channel, by the way, the Creative Drunk, because
that's me.
Yeah, and also that's Sother on social media, but just the, because I've seen many a cocktail video, I've made many a cocktail video, but there's something so soothing about watching you just make 3 martinis. I watched that video today twice, and Thanks. I was like, fuck, I'm achy, I don't feel good today, and I want I want a dirty martini and I want a Plymouth martini. So I have to thank you for that. It was really inspiring, guys. So I'll share that on social when this episode airs, so you guys can check out Sother throwing down some drinks. Yeah, Megan tried a dry January. It didn't complete.
She's drinking sparkling water now. I just assumed it was dry January. Listen, I have a bone to pick with dry January in the first place.
Agreed.
I think it's bad for you, Megan. I think it's bad for you because I'm willing to bet that the majority of folks, the majority of folks out there who do dry January, they drink a lot right up until January 1st.
Yes.
You know, it's New Year's, it's Christmas, it's everything. And then I'm betting that they drink a lot on February 1st, 2nd, 3rd, right? Because they're getting back in the game. That's like shocking to the body to go. It's like, you know, too drastic a temperature change, you know, like something for your body. I also think that you're probably going to feel guilty if you fall off the wagon and miss a day for whatever reason. Maybe it's somebody's birthday you forgot has in January, or someone gets engaged or gets a promotion at their job, and then you're like, well, I got to have a drink with Bill. You got a promotion, right? So you feel bad. My recommendation, and then the third one is huge, but I'll give you my recommendation first. My recommendation is skip a day a week for the whole year. That's 52 instead of 30, 31 in January. That's 52. It's not so shocking to the body. So you say, I just don't drink on Tuesdays all year long. And then if you have to, oh, it's Bill got a promotion on a Tuesday, then you say, well, I'll take Wednesday off, right? You don't have to like beat yourself up for not making the stretch, right? But the real trick is this show talks a lot about drinking. So I know you love bars and bartenders. The fact that so many people quit drinking every January, it's crippling to my business.
It affects the business bad. I know. I have a lot of friends in breweries that the business is so slow they've lost their hours. It's bad.
Yeah. So what good is this? If we can probably agree that I think I'm pretty right. I could be wrong. I'm no doctor, but that's probably not as good for your body as just skipping. You know, that's 52 days instead of 30. One day a week that you just never drink. Instead of just this 30 days that it's bad for your body and it's bad for the businesses that you love. What's the good here?
Yeah. You're hurting people you visit. Sorry, Megan.
I also had like a come to Jesus where it was like, there was like the shootings, unfortunately, that just happened. I'm like, oh my God, if I was anywhere near there or I got injured or I died, heaven forbid, I would be so regretful of not drinking for the last 3 weeks. That would be awful.
It's a little slightly myopic, Megan, but that's okay.
I was just thinking we only live once, but I did it for a while and I was looking for health benefits. And by week 3 of straight, not just doing that really, really clean eating, I've gained 4 pounds.
Your skin looks good.
I don't feel any different. So I was just like, you know what? I don't need to drink as much, like you're saying. I don't need to drink every single day. And I was drinking a lot. Like I could drink half a bottle of vodka in one night, you know, so I don't need to do that. But I think I can be an adult enough to know that I don't have a problem because I can stop and I can control myself. So that's the goal now. You're correct.
The discipline.
I think moderation in all things, including moderation, meaning from time to time, be ascetic and don't do anything. And from time to time, kick the fucking doors in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
funny.
You mentioned dry January.
Live your life in the middle there. You know what I mean?
Do you? And I have a feeling towards this. I have a somewhat of a feeling towards this. But do you feel like mocktails are a scam?
I don't think they're a scam. I think they're also kind of not. No, I'll tell you why.
No, okay.
I think they're also kind of a burden on the establishments, especially like mine. And I'll give you some reasons. They're not a scam because to make a good mocktail or NA cocktail program, the first thing the place has to do, the business has to do, they have to go in the kitchen, right? We got to get in the kitchen. We're making some kind of syrup. We're doing an infusion. We're making some sort of tea-based thing, or we're literally creating, a multi-flavored thing. But there's a stove involved. There's some labor involved. Now there's your price point, right?
Got it.
When I make drinks at Amore Amargo, it's bottles off the back of the bar. We don't use any syrups or juices. We don't do any infusions. We don't shake any drinks. So everything we do is just booze. I literally only have one non-alcoholic ingredient. It's water. Granted, I have flat, frozen, and bubbly, but just water, right? Which means nothing spoils, right? If I'm going in the kitchen and spending that labor, I'm also spending it on something that isn't going to last, right? So now I got to pay attention to that. And the story or the sort of analogy that I use here is, you guys are probably aware of Peter Luger's Steakhouse, famous steakhouse in New York City,
Brooklyn.
I don't know if you've ever been, but they have salmon on the menu, and you know who orders it? No one, because you go over there for the steak, right? So, but what they have to do is that means that someone had to order salmon. Someone had to be there to the truck to receive it off the truck, and they had to get paid, right? Someone had to butcher it down into servable pieces. Someone had to hold it in the cooler and make sure that it was fresh and ready to go. Someone had to maybe cook a piece or two, but probably eventually decide it's got to go in the garbage. We just have to have it on hand because someone might order this thing at the place where everyone orders steak.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for me to, as a bar owner, justify going in the kitchen, spending that labor, making a product that isn't shelf stable, knowing that no one's really coming here for that. Right? They come when they say they're going to the bar, they're not thinking, I'm going to go down that bar and not drink.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to Peter Luger's Steakhouse and not having a steak. No, I'm going somewhere else if I'm not drinking. I'm going
Exactly.
roller
Yeah.
skating. I'm going to Rockefeller Center ice skating. It's wintertime, like I don't know. So I don't think it's a scam. And I think that there's room for it. I just think it's going to take us a while to get to a place where we can justify the costs in a way that are appealing to the businesses, right? I'm talking to this
Yeah.
for the business lens. Do I like that stuff? Yeah, my partner, we've been together for 10 years. She doesn't drink. I appreciate when I go places that have things for her. But on the other side, she sort of avoids those places. She tells me, "Yeah, go have a great time. See you later." Um, you know, but I just think I don't think it's a scam. I just think we're not there yet.
Got it.
When
Yeah,
we
well, I mean,
get
now
to
you're starting to see the low ABV stuff pop up. I mean,
low
I
ABV is a
can't
little
tell
bit
you
easier.
yeah, my inbox on Instagram is every low ABV company trying to send me bottles so
Oh
that I
man,
can taste it. It is, I can't
same,
imagine what you deal with if,
same.
since you're so specific in the booze world.
So not just low, but the no stuff.
The no, yeah.
I don't want to mention any brands because I don't want to harsh on anybody. But
No,
I've
that's fair.
tasted in the past year. I started tasting all these no's, non-alcoholic spirits brands. Started tasting them in earnest in January last year. So it's been a year. I've seriously tasted hundreds, and I haven't found one yet that I consider to be even kind of remotely good. The problem with these, the problem with these, Megan, is um, just with anything, with shoes, tires, I don't know, whatever. When you have a huge demand by the public, suddenly you're going to have a rush to market. People are going to
Mhm.
rush the product out there, and that rushed product is probably not so great. But
Right.
they're grabbing those dollars, and while they're grabbing your dollars, they're using you as a guinea pig to do their R&D. Now, what'll happen is in the first couple of years, it will shake out the ones that suck, yeah, and the ones that are okay will remain, or the ones that have a better budget or whatever. There'll
Right.
be the tenacious ones that hold on, and then over the next 8 to 10 years, we'll slope up and we'll get better. I very much feel in my core that in 10 years from now, you'll walk into any bar, we'll crack the code by then, and you'll walk into any bar and you'll see a bottle of whiskey and a bottle of not whiskey that's good, a bottle of gin and a bottle of not gin, a bottle of tequila and a bottle of not tequila. But right now, they all taste like tea. They all overwhelmingly, this is the craziest part when you say, is it worth it? They overwhelmingly cost more than the actual thing. I can get a liter of Old Overholt rye whiskey, the longest continuously produced rye whiskey in the world. I can get that in my wholesale from my bar for $18 a liter, and I'm paying $25 a 750, so it's even more expensive
Yeah.
of these things. And these things have a 6 month shelf life, whereas my whiskey has an eternal shelf life. So I got
Yeah.
to worry
Right.
about it going bad. It's costs more. No one's really coming here to get it. You know what I mean? Because they're not that good. No one knows these brands. I can't call them by name yet. So it's like this whole process we have to go through, and you just got to roll up your sleeves and get ready to do the work.
There's a great quote that you say, or you've said, and that the quote is that you used to always joke that you were a chef and now you make chilled soup.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
like one of our previous guests, Gabe Orta. He from Broken Shaker. Gabe was
Yeah.
a chef
I listened
and
to that.
then
I
made
listened
his
to that
way
episode.
into yep. And do you attribute your, I guess, your connection to bitters because of being a chef? Because man, some of the combinations of bitters that, so folks at home, sorry, I'm jumping in just to say one thing. He sells these great kind of like little mini lots of individual small collection bitters, like rare bitters, that are just wild and cool and eclectic and really interesting. So that's why I asked that question. Sorry.
No, no, don't be sorry. And yeah, 1000% I attribute that. So I was a chef for 12 years, working chef. I taught at the New England Culinary Institute for 2 of those years. And I have a very savory palate coming out of that part of my life. Now I've been behind the bar now for 23 years. Um, but in the beginning, I was kind of like a wild horse. I was loose. I was like looking at all spectrum of cocktails, especially as cocktails started really becoming a thing, which was kind of right when I got into it. Really digging around and trying to find as much as I could find. So the bar that I worked at that time was broad spectrum, and we had frozen drinks in the blender, we had stirred drinks, and everything in between. And then as time
Applebee's.
passed,
No, just kidding.
basically, no, it was a place on the Upper East Side. It doesn't exist anymore, too bad. You know, over time, I started to realize like my personal palate, I'm leaning towards these things. And then I started, being introduced to Amari and the bitter liqueurs and vermouth, and I kept leaning and edging that way. And then bitters came into my life, and you know, so, people are always like, where's that romantic moment that it happened? Nothing like that. I wasn't hit by an Amaro truck and then I realized my epiphany. What happened is, I like everything happens. It happens pretty slowly at first and then kind of quickly at the end there. So I went from this like interest to, curiosity to made it kind of into my hobby. Then I made it into my job. Then I made it into my career. But yeah, so when I say that about chilled soup, it's because what I lean towards are the stirred, spirit forward, really, bold flavored, interesting to me anyway. Um, the world of Amaro. I can't get enough of it.
How
Yeah,
did you end up marrying somebody who doesn't drink? I mean, don't you want to impress her with your partner with your skills? Like, your partner, here's all my skills, and this is what I'm going to impress you with.
First of
I
all,
don't do
Megan,
that.
no ring on this fingers. We aren't
Partner.
married. She's my partner. They are my partner. And only in the last couple of years stopped drinking. It was
Okay. So you impressed her, or are they at the beginning?
well, we met at Amore Margo. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, she was a guest who came in one night, and just 10 years ago. We know exactly the day we met. I know it's Cahokie, but it was because it was so close to Christmas. It was December 22nd, 2012. But over time, realized that they couldn't drink. Well, we're all allergic to alcohol, and we all
Oh, really?
suffer
Yeah,
similar.
that's
Well,
the
yes,
hangover.
we all suffer
The
similar symptoms. First, it makes us lose our, impairs our judgment. Our motor skills get less. We start to slur our words. Our eyes get a little bit droopy. We start talking louder because
I see
sugar,
nothing wrong.
the sugar goes up. And then, of course, lots of us have issues the next day with headaches, hangovers, etc. And Nat simply realized that there was no, over time, aging, things change. Over time, there's no amount of alcohol that they can drink and not wake up with a hangover tomorrow.
And Nat stuck around though, even when sobering up. So that's a good sign.
They bartend at a place in Brooklyn, so
Okay.
you can be behind the bar. Sam Malone famously bartended and was not and did not drink.
Speaking, well, another guest of our show, one of my favorite bartending folks in the world, Gabe Sanchez out in Dallas, doesn't really drink either, and he's somebody who I attribute also has just a really wonderful palate.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you guys are like Beethoven. You're sitting there writing your Ninth Symphony in your desk. Like it's really kind of cool.
And I'm thinking, like, if I found a guy, like, I play guitar, and if I found I was playing guitar and this guy would be like, I don't listen to that. I'd be like, I gotta go. I don't listen to music. I have nothing to offer you.
I mean, speaking of that, you're out in LA. Both of you in LA?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Cato, I don't know if you've been there yet, but you should go. Great restaurant, Michelin star. They moved from a little, out now it's very common to have your restaurant be in a little strip mall. They moved from a strip mall into a larger place. They didn't have a bar at the other place. It was just wine. Now they've got a bar. Their head bartender there is in the Imbibe 75, which just came out, the Imbibe magazine, 75 people to watch. And he's got a program there. It's a tasting menu only, and you can choose to get the wine pairing, the cocktail pairing, or the NA pairing, since we're talking about NAs.
Mm-hmm.
And he is pioneering this thing. He doesn't drink himself anymore. And this is why he's in Imbibe 75, because of his NA thing. And they sell, he said, around 30% of the NA. So that means that the remaining 70% is split between the wine and the cocktail, right? So it's kind of an even split, really. And that guy's name is Austin Henley, and he was the head bartender for me at Amore Margo for many years.
Oh, I remember him. Yes.
Yeah,
sorry. I'm like, yes, okay, I remember him. Oh, that's so great. Yeah, he was a
so you got to
good
go
guy.
out there. If you guys go, get yourself a res, ping me, and I'll ping Austin and let him know you're coming.
Oh, right on. Speaking of places that you have worked, and this kind of relates to hangovers. There was a place that you mentioned you worked there, and I had a friend that worked there named Stephanie over at Booker and Dax.
Stephanie who?
Stephanie Negrodi.
Doesn't ring a bell, but
Venezuelan and hilarious. But she worked there for a bit, and I remember you guys, well, at least when I went, there was a lot of centrifuge cocktails. So no matter what I had, it was clear. No matter, it was clear as water. And I recall, because kept on pouring me like a tequila drink, of this or that. And I'm like, you're gonna fucking kill me. And she's like, no. The just the fact that it's centrifuged is gonna reduce some of that, that feeling the next day. And at least it worked for me. I mean, obviously,
there's a little
little
bit of
buzz.
truth. Yeah, there's a little truth there. Clarification through centrifugal distillation and vacuum distillation, or any distillation for that matter. You're going to get rid of some of the esters and some of the congeners that are caught up in the spirits. But you're not getting rid of ethanol, and ethanol is really what's doing you the damage. The alcohol part of alcohol is what's doing you the damage. But I credit her and I credit you. The placebo effect goes a long way.
It sure did.
You give somebody something that's perfectly clear and say this will not affect you as bad tomorrow as if you had it, right out of the barrel.
Yeah, I think I had like
your
5
brain
drinks.
Just goes, all right, I agree.
And I wasn't too, mind you, I had like 5 drinks and 5 waters. That's like my rule is I have a glass of water in between every drink, and that's kind of worked out for me. I also want to give you credit for a really great concept that you shared with me, and one of the last times I was in New York, I was able to go to experience this. Unfortunately, the last time I was there, it in the life of the bar business, but your space coup.
Cool, yeah. Well,
that
it
was
had a timeline. It had a timeline anyway. We only had the space for 9 months. We knew going in it was short lived.
That I did not know.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, it was such a great experience. So Megan, I don't want to like tell his story, but it was so cool because you would order a drink. The price of the drink, from what I remember, was a flat fee. It included gratuity, and you were handed this wood token, and dispersed throughout this bar were different banks, let's say piggy banks, for you to put these coins, large, small, whatever, and attached to them would be some kind of signage telling you which charity was being donated to based on how many coins were in there. But it was cool because you would have them in the back of a booth, so it would encourage people to kind of talk to people at that booth, like, oh, here, I'm dropping this in Planned Parenthood or whatever. Where did that come about, Sother?
So this was right when President Trump was being elected into office. We opened in April. He took office in January, and we decided to give 100% of our profits to charities that were being threatened or defunded by the incoming administration. At that time, there were many, like you just said, Planned Parenthood, lots of immigration issues, lots of women's rights issues, etc. And so this is an idea that I borrowed from a friend of mine named Bobby Hugel down in Texas. He had a bar called Okra for many years. I think Okra still exists. I just don't think he's a part of it anymore. And Okra was the same thing, almost exactly. They had tickets instead of tokens. Our tokens said "Do good while being bad." We named our bar Coup because COUP, like an uprising. But when people see that at a bar, they think it says Coupe, like the coupe glass. So it had some double entendres. And yeah, every single drink you got a coin, and you could walk around and look at the charities. And sometimes the charity folks would come and try and encourage people, give money to our charity. And at the end of the month, we'd count the coins, and by percentage, we'd give all the profits for that month away to those charities. And it was great. It was so great. And I would love to have something like that on a permanent basis, but it's a little bit harder to pull off. Again, knowing we had a timeline that really created urgency. We were packed every night because people knew it wasn't going to last long. They wanted to support or not support. Folks came in to be rabble rousers, but you know what? So what? You still came in and spent money.
As long as they're talking about you, it just matters.
Like, I'm not going to put my coin in any charity. I'm just going to drink the drink. And I'm like, keep the coin, man. That's fine with me. The percentage will still be the percentage.
Who's doing that? Who are those people?
I just imagine somebody's like one of those like war vets, and they have the ears of the people they kill, like hanging from a necklace. They had the coins, and they just would put them on a necklace and be like, "Ha! I've had 10 drinks here. I'm not donating."
Who? Right. So if it's like a charity for children, like what evil soul goes up and is like,
I'm not putting it in there.
And I'm just gonna drink.
Not a ton of that happened. Of course, we're in New York. Everyone was kind of on our side, but it did. The news was there. CNN came by. Like, it was a big thing. And that was the point. Honestly, make a splash, make people understand that there are charities that you should probably care about and pay attention to in your general life, and that they're being threatened makes it even more imperative that you pay attention to them. So it worked really well. We're very excited and happy about how it went, and I'd love to try and do something like that again. And again, having it, as you said, everything was inclusive. I think the price tag was like $20 21 or 20, which seems like a lot, but in New York City, that's a drink and,
No,
and a gratuity.
and drinks were great. Like it was a great space, really was.
And we split the bar in half right down the middle. And one side was our staff all the time making our drinks. And as many nights as possible, the other side was a guest bartender who would come in and make a few drinks of their own making and bring a charity of their own to the mix. So, we got guys like Dale DeGroff and Dave Wondrich and, Julie Reiner came and did one. And we had some really great bartenders come through. And even like I just said, Dave Wondrich, it was a very rare opportunity. He does a lot of talking. He's a, known historian in the booze world, but it's rare to see him get behind the bar and actually spin drinks. So, he was, again, I think bartending, our entire group is a very soft-hearted and charitable lot. So, it really drew a lot of attention.
I can attest to that. Even even here in Los Angeles.
Thank you for bringing it up. It's a good memory. I haven't thought of it in a while. Honestly, I tell the story every time I'm in New York. I tell the story. I don't know how many times your ears ring, but you've come up in conversation for me several times throughout my life, and I always tell that story because it people don't realize how generous the bar industry is. Very much, yeah.
And now that I work in the liquor business a little bit more, I get to see that firsthand a lot more. And
we got things we got things like Okra down there still happening. We got Speed Rack is a huge competition that goes all over the world now. It's a global competition for women bartenders for breast cancer. It's a speed competition, so the Speed Rack, they're talking about their rack. So it's tongue in cheek. We've got the Barman's Fund, which I was a part of when it started, which bartenders all over the community. There's the Bartenders Fund they have one in New York and one in New Orleans and one in San Francisco. And they haven't done it since the pandemic, but it was one night a month where a collective of bartenders from all over the city would just determine Tuesday night, Tuesday the 23rd, whatever that is, all tips that we generate go to this school. It was always a school to get them computers or whatever, or paper, pens, pencils, whatever they need for that school. You get 10 bartenders to participate. You get a brand on board to bring in something you can sell to your consumer for cheap, and they'll tip you what they normally would have paid and the tip. And then suddenly, you've got, several $1,000s every time we do it. And over the years, it's into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions,
That's one thing I really appreciate about, certain, I'm sorry, it sounds like a big kiss ass fest, but it's true. This is something I really appreciate about you, is that you're not afraid to work with a brand. Sometimes I'll hear this, the cool kids and they'll be like, no, I don't want to work with any big brand or blah, blah, blah. Right. Doesn't mean that big brand doesn't make a good product. And then I'll see Montenegro in the back bar and I'm like, dickhead, that's by Gallo. Like if you got hit by a Montenegro truck, you'd get like Tracy Morgan Walmart money. You know what I mean? Like, relax, stop pretending you're like the cool kids. That's one thing I've seen you work with Campari, which I'm a fan of.
Massive. I do a lot of work with them, actually.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm tired of kids getting all these benefits when you're doing these charities. The teachers need cocktails. Get them some bars in the school. We know we know your strengths.
I mean, you can drink wine in church. Why can't you drink wine in school? Come on.
Teachers need alcohol.
Every desk should be outfitted with a little mini bar that has the little hotel nips in it,
Oh,
I'd
be back teaching if that was the case. That'd be great.
I've actually moved on now to Averna.
Okay. What were you drinking first, though? You never said.
I was drinking Amaro Montenegro. That's why I just had it in my mind when I was talking about the schmucks that'll say they don't work with big brands and then they have Montenegro in the back.
Sure. Now you switched to Averna, which is Grupo Campari.
Yeah, I love this stuff.
And Megan, I saw you've switched to a glass now. What are you drinking out of that glass?
Yeah, it's just a white wine that was in my fridge. It's not even like a fancy one. It's one of those
wine.
ones. It was like at Whole Foods for like $4.99. I was like, yeah, let's do that.
Listen,
I
think that people get embarrassed or foolishly, I think, about the prices. And it doesn't mean a damn thing. And I also think they get a little trepidatious about the packaging. The best thing for the wine, for the liquid that's in there, the best thing is boxed.
Really?
Yes. The bag collapses. The bag collapses as you drain the wine out, so no oxygen ever touches the wine. Oxygen is the enemy of wine.
Yeah.
boxes are the best. Now here's the problem: only in the past few years have we got better brands to put their wine in a box.
Mhm.
Right?
Oh, it's
So
like that
that's the
cycle we
issue.
were talking about.
Exactly. So that's the issue. But the
It gives
best
them a
thing
bad
for
name initially until better
yes,
brands start making better product.
well, until better brands realize that there's money to be had, right?
Exactly.
Money.
You let people chase the money, and then when you see where they're going, you just go get the money, right?
I see
Right.
your I think it was your first book, I'm Just Here for the Drinks.
Yeah, it's right there
I see
behind
it
me.
behind you
Yeah,
there.
there it is.
What inspired you to become an author? Because I can't imagine wanting to write down anything
It,
anymore.
it was a huge data dump. You know, I feel like, well, I'll tell you the story of how the book came around. There used to be an online magazine called, oh man, I'm going to forget the name now. City, New York Metro. No, that's not it. Anyway, there was an online, it doesn't exist anymore, but there was an interview that they did with me over 15 years ago. And the last question of the interview was something along the lines of, well, what's next? And I said, I've got an idea for a book. I think I'm going to call it I'm Just Here for a Drink. And I'm going to work on that. Fast forward almost a little over a decade, when I finally got off my ass and did it. So, and I called it I'm Just Here for the Drinks. We changed the title a little bit. I just needed to get that information out of my head. It was so much stuff up there that I thought could be better used by someone else if they had it in their hands than just clanging around in my brain. And I got to tell you, cathartically, it is exactly that. People always like reference the book, or they'll say something from the book, or even talk about a drink that's in the book. Obviously, there's drink recipes in there. And I'm like, I have to go reference the book myself, because I took that information out of my brain and I put it in there. Now it's safe. I don't have to think about it.
Yep.
You know. So it was real, like, honestly, it was a data dump. I needed to get my brain freer for other projects, and it was good for me to do it. And the book has done exceptionally well. It's been around for a little bit of time now, and it still does really well, because, as I tell my teams all the time at the bars, you know, every single day there's a whole bunch of people who turn 21. Now, granted, our bars kind of shoot for more like 25, but like there's a whole new audience every day. So just because my book's a couple years old doesn't mean that I think I wrote that book for a 25-year-old as well. Every single day people turn 25. So the book does exceptionally well.
What year is it that you have to be 21 now? Let's age ourselves.
Oh
Oh
shit.
God, I mean, well, it's
Ay, ay, ay.
2023, so 2002.
Oh wow. 2002. I was all I was working at a not so great place and was about to move here to Los Angeles. Oh
I was in
man.
7th grade in
I was of
Jenkins
drinking
Middle
age.
School.
In 7th grade.
Well,
Let's
Megan
see,
was
I was
probably drinking, just hiding it from her parents. But
I was drinking beers and little shows and smoking pot in the fields behind the house.
perfect. I'm not gonna say where I was. That's it's gonna date me.
Were
You're
you
gonna
in
date me.
7th grade too?
Let me lean into the camera and get you a better look at my face. I'm
Just say
53, so in 2002 I was 42 years old.
oh man, it. Well, one thing a lot of folks don't know about you is that you also worked on one of my favorite food shows called Good Eats with
Yep,
Alton Brown. I
I
always
did.
thought that was a show you could always learn something instead of just watching people cook. I love the way Alton kind of broke down the science of it. Did
Mhm.
anything from that show, because you are kind of a science, not kind of, you are a scientist in the way you make your bitters and your drinks, and and I don't want to say hyper focused, but you are like with a sniper's
Yep.
sniper
Well,
scope.
well, so I was the research and technical chef, and I played several characters on the show for 3 and a change seasons, uh, seasons 3, 4, 5, and part of 6. So you can spot me as a character in some of the old shows. Like I play a cowboy, I play a scientist. Everyone who plays characters on that show are just people who are on the crew. He'd grab the lighting guy and say, "You're playing this role," Um, and yeah, so being the research and technical chef for the show meant exactly that. A lot of research, a lot of digging around, finding recipes that we knew would work this time, next time, every time. Finding recipes that we knew could be, recreated in homes all over the country. This predates the ease of the internet. The internet was around, of course, but it wasn't so easy yet. So, like, I remember many times we'd have an ingredient or two in in a dish that we were going to do, and we'd sit down with a list of phone numbers and we'd call grocery stores in the middle of the country in like Iowa and be like, Iowa, do you have Old Bay seasoning? Because we think Old Bay is like a ubiquitous, right? Everybody has it. If we got enough no's, we'd change the recipe and do something else, right? Because we want people to be able to do the thing. We never had
What
a
a
food
fun
stylist.
job. I'd love
Yeah,
to do that. That sounds
yeah.
like right up my
It
alley.
was kind of fun actually talking to grocers all over the country.
Oh, yeah.
Old Bay seasoning. You never heard of it? You put it on crab. Yeah.
No,
But
that's crazy that that's not everywhere. Come on
right.
now.
But then we also never had a food stylist on the show. Everything we did was we made it. That way, when you as the
Wow.
viewer would make it at home, you wouldn't be like, mine doesn't look like theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
You
would
guys
look
never
like
had those
ours.
traditional beauty shots that
None
you
of
know you
that.
see on
No,
every show with the
we never
perfect
had
lighting and
we
the
never had anybody in there painting grill marks on or faking smoke coming off of something. It was all as it was. Um, and then does that translate? Yeah. Well, like I said, when I got behind the bar, that was after. So I left Good Eats, then I went to teach. Well, I went to New Orleans for a while, then I went to teach in Montpelier at the culinary school, and then I came to New York, and so I still had that like very research-oriented mind. And when I got behind the bar, that's what I did. I started digging into books. Again, the internet was just burgeoning at that point, so there are a couple of blogs that I was going to look and read about cocktails. Most of it crap information. Some of it you could suss out some good stuff. And so yeah, definitely informed by that. And then I always talk about how my book. So I was a contributor to Alton's first book, which was called "I'm Just Here for the Food." So with Alton's permission, I named my drink. My book. I'm just here for the drinks.
So I just realized I've been saying his name wrong for all this time. It's Alton, not Alton.
Alton Brown. Yeah.
Shit. All right, got it right. At least I know how to say your name right, so that's
Yeah,
good.
it's
Because
all
I
good.
can't. I imagine every time I see your name, I'm like, man, he must get his name butchered constantly.
Yeah, a little bit. People want to add that they want to make me Southern, which I am, but my name is Scottish. So yeah. They want to say
Do
Southern.
you have any nicknames you go by?
Not really. I think my name is unique enough. When I was in high school, they called me the Naked Ape. But that's because in gym class, I don't have a lot of hair. I haven't shaved probably in 3 weeks. So
That's why your partner stayed these 10 years.
I don't have any chest hair. I don't have any chest hair. I don't have any back hair. So when changing clothes for gym, they call me the Naked Ape. What about you, Megan? You have any nicknames?
Oof. Where do we get started? Just with my nicknames for her? Or?
So many. So many. There is no time for mine.
A little
I'm
bit.
gonna reload my Amaro Flora here.
I'm gonna keep an eye out for that, Sother, because that looks really cool. Now,
don't know if
what's
they're
a
out
good
in
shelf life
California.
for Amaros for folks? I know you said that
Ooh, that's a great question.
because it is, obviously vermouth is a wine product that's a little bit different. It's not an Amaro, obviously, but there are some of those ingredients in your drinks.
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we look at a bottle of, I don't know, Lafroig 10-year Scotch, that bottle is 10 years old today, right? But in 100 years, that bottle is 10 years old.
Mhm.
Once the whiskey has left the barrel, the aging process has stopped. So that's a 10-year bottle of whiskey, no matter if you drink it today or if you drink it on your 50th anniversary, whatever, right? This is not exactly the same, and we think of this kind of as with all spirits, right? It's not exactly the same when you have something like Amaro. Amaro, remember at the beginning, I've shaken it up now, but remember it's still, so now it's cloudy, but in the beginning there was like a little layer, you could see that little layer on the bottom. Amaro, and that one's unfiltered, so you can see it, but Amaro has particulate matter in it that maybe isn't visible to the naked eye, but it's still in there.
Mhm.
And that particulate matter is still extracting or being extracted by the alcohol that's in there, right? That's what extracts are. Vanilla bean in some vodka or bourbon or whatever, you're making vanilla extract. The vodka is extracting the vanilla, right? So if those particulates are in there, even though they're infinitesimally small, if you hang on to an Amaro for decades, plural, you'll start to get some unintended flavors, right? Just like if you leave your coffee grounds in the coffee for too long, just like if you leave a tea bag in the tea for too long, there's this bell curve. It's going to get better and better and better, and then it's going to start getting worse and worse and worse. So what happens with Amari is, in my opinion, and I'm not the end all be all here, although I'm a pretty known expert in this particular arena. people bring me these vintage ones all the time, and I'm disappointed by them every time. What happens is the bitter notes begin to stand even more forward than they were in the first place. And granted, these things are supposed to be bitter, so you're like, that's a good thing, right? And I'm like, no, there's balance involved, right? The problem is that things like sugars fall out of solution as time passes as well. So suddenly you got that bottle of Fernet Branca in your hands now. You hang on to that bottle for 50 years, you're going to have this thing that's all bitter and no sweet. But as you're about to taste that thing, you're going to find that it is bitter, but it's also sweet, right?
Mhm.
So I don't like to drink the vintage Amari, and there's a group of folks out there who love it, and that's fine. They find things about them that they love. I just find it's not what the maker intended for you to have. The flip of that coin is I do buy a lot of old whiskey. I bought a case of my favorite Old Overholt Rye, the longest continuously produced rye whiskey in the world. I bought a case of that from Sotheby's a few years ago. It was from 1909, right?
Amazing.
And it was delicious whiskey, though it tasted nothing like the current day stuff because things have changed. Nothing changed with the whiskey. Time changed. It's no longer distilled to the same proof. It's no longer barreled for the same amount of time. It's a different mash bill. It's made with a different type of still. It's made in a different region of the country. It used to be made in Pennsylvania. Now it's down in Kentucky. Those are different climates. So even though the
Very
label
different.
says Oreos, when I reach in that Oreo bag, I'm pulling out one that's dipped in white chocolate and covered with sprinkles and has a raspberry center. The label didn't change. Time changed, right? Things changed. So I got to taste through time in that regard. But when I taste old Amari, I'm just tasting flat, bitter, unbalanced. They just don't work.
Yeah, there's
So
a
that's a
there's a
great
fun little
question to
bar in
ask.
Chicago that
Billy Sunday.
pardon me.
Is it Billy Sunday?
It's the Milk Room. It's
Oh,
a
Milk
tiny,
Room, of course.
yeah, a little tiny little bar inside the Chicago Athletic Association that is, they specialize in vintage spirits. And I encourage everybody to check something out like that. If you are a cocktail enthusiast or a
Hell yeah.
spirits enthusiast, try it once. You can taste some Campari from the 1960s where the recipe was different. You can taste some Old Forester. Just depends on what they got. They cross it out on the menu and it's not there anymore. It's vintage
Yeah.
spirits.
That case of whiskey that I bought, I literally sold one bottle of it to kind of offset by the way, it cost me more than a month's rent in New York per bottle.
Wow.
So I spent a
I was
year's
gonna
rent.
ask.
I spent a year's rent on a case of whiskey. Megan, I redefined for myself what alcoholism is. It's not about how much you drink, it's about how much you
How
spend.
much you spend? I for the first time was at a Safeway or a Pavilions, and I walked up to the liquor, like they're getting their liquor store like in those grocery stores, like really. Anyways, there's a $9,000 bottle of Macallan M. Overrated? Thoughts?
I mean,
9,000.
yeah, that's a lot of thousands. For the people who are willing to spend that money, Godspeed. What happens in the whiskey world, though, sadly, is secondary and tertiary markets drive prices. So what we have are too many collectors, not consumers. Bet your ass that case of whiskey that I bought from 1909, it's gone. I sold one bottle to offset a little bit, and then I drank the rest. I always say about my bar, any bar I own, any bar I have, even here in my house, it's an amusement park, not a museum. We're going to ride these rides. You know what I mean? I don't collect.
Great
I
way to live
consume.
life.
Yeah, I don't collect. I consume. There's a part of me, even with that case from 1909, I always say there's a part of me, small, but a part of me, that was disappointed that it still existed. Someone should have drank it in 1909. But there's a part of me that's excited that I get to drink it.
If
But
it would have
there's a
been
part of
on
me
the
that's like,
Titanic or something, you'd be like, oh shit, at least there's a reason nobody drank it for so many
right,
years.
this just got lost in someone's cellar. You know what I mean? So it just got overlooked and forgotten. So all the effort and energy and work that the guys who are dead now who made that stuff just got overlooked.
Yeah, that would never happen in my little bar back here.
None of
That
mine
would
either,
not
buddy.
happen at home. Not so
None of
much.
mine either.
I can't keep it away from Megan. So let's just be honest. Megan comes in, she's like, pour me a whiskey. And I'm like, oh, hello? Hi,
Yeah.
how are you?
Yeah. It's whiskey first, greeting second.
That was 7:30 in the morning. No, I'm just kidding.
That's two whiskeys and then a hello. And don't
So
don't say
I'm gonna
good
ask
morning.
you
Don't be presumptuous. Just say hello.
a couple of serious and a couple of silly questions.
Okay.
I just to bring it back to like the darkness that I started the show with. What was the last thing that made you cry?
Oh Jesus, Eddie.
Wow.
What?
The last thing that made me cry. I I think I'm kind of a softie. I'm a pretty emotional fellow. So it probably wasn't that long ago. Um, I don't know. I had a great Christmas with my best friend, who by the way, he and I might be opening up a distillery together.
Oh my.
Looks pretty likely. Down in North Carolina, not far from Ed Ryan. But he lives in the future. He is the head of virtual reality at the local college here, NYU. He does 3D projection mapping and game engine making and all that stuff that I don't have any clue about. But he also, when he was a younger man, was played a lot of guitar and a lot of other instruments as well, the piano, drums. And so for Christmas, I found a guy also in North Carolina who takes cigar boxes and makes them into traditional cigar box strummer guitars with 4 strings.
Yeah.
So I had him one custom made, and I think I got a little weepy when I gave it to him, and he started playing it. That's my best
Please,
friend.
I'm getting a little weepy. That's such a beautiful story. See, Sother's just generous.
I wanted like he lives in the future. I kind of wanted him to remember that the rest of us are here in the now, and maybe there's also some past you can reach back to.
Yeah, it's super
Was he
thoughtful.
strumming your pain with his fingers?
Megan, that's exactly what he was doing.
Absolutely. What's your favorite song? Speaking of strumming your pain with his fingers.
Well, at the beginning of the show, you talked about the song you couldn't remember the name of that reminded you of your dad, and I was going to poke fun of you. This is not my favorite song, but I'm just going to talk about it because you brought it up. There's a song that I saw on social media, of course, that's where we all live, that the guy called in asking for a song from the DJ, but he didn't know the song, so he was kind of just describing it. Do you know this? The Reebok and the
Reebok and the Nike. Yeah. One of the best phone calls ever.
It's amazing. And the DJ susses out that the guy is asking him for the rhythm of the night. It the Reebok or the Nike?
He's like, the Reebok or Nike song.
Night. And he starts playing it, and the guy goes, he's so excited. Yeah, that's it. So sussing it out. My favorite song. I don't know. I listened to a lot of punk rock music when I was younger, and that's still kind of what I listen to the most. But to be honest, as I'm getting older and softer, and at the bar, we play a lot of jazz. So if I had to call out one that I could listen to over and over without getting too tired of it, probably be something like Take 5 by Dave Brubeck Quartet.
Great song. Your favorite condiment?
I really hate to say it because it makes me sound like, I guess, exactly what I am. I mean, I'm a lot of things. I'm a chef. I've cooked all over the place. I was a butcher for years. I bought myself a half a pig for Christmas, and I've been cooking that on my grill out back as time goes on. Smoking, love doing that stuff. Love charcuterie. I used to make a lot of sausages. But man, the condiment that pops up the most in my life is mustard.
But like yellow French's mustard?
I love yellow mustard.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a common ingredient in a lot of, like barbecue sauces.
100%.
Yeah. I just don't like it straight up.
Yeah, I love yellow mustard. This doesn't mean I don't love a lot of other mustards. They're probably in my fridge right now. There's probably at least 10 different ones. But I know that if I'm making a sandwich, it's mustard. If I'm having a hot dog, it's mustard. If I'm dipping French fries, I prefer to dip them in like a little bit of mayonnaise and mostly mustard.
Wow.
Like mustard is kind of my.
That is different.
No one's ever asked me my favorite.
Have you made a pork belly that's like smoked and crispy on the outside?
Oh, yes.
I'm obsessed, and I need one in my life. I keep watching videos of them cutting into it and the crunch. I can't stop watching.
He had a vegan barbecue spot that was amazing, by the way.
I did, yeah.
Yes.
Honeybees.
Yeah. Sorry, I remember going. That was what replaced Cienfuegos, right?
It was, yeah. And the pandemic took that away from us. But vegan barbecue. We can do anything with vegan. Listen, my company, Overthrow Hospitality, we have 10 locations in the East Village alone, and they're all different. We've got a Mexican joint, we've got a pasta and wine bar, we've got a tapas place, we've got a vegan dessert bar. And then, to really put the screws to it, we have a vegan Southern soul food spot called Cadence. Our chef over there got a nod from James Beard and Michelin last year. The James Beard list just came out yesterday, so she got a nod this year as well. She hasn't won yet, but she's on the list. So you're usually on the list for a few years before you tackle it. But this year she also took 30 under 30 on Forbes. We're crushing vegan Southern soul food. It can be done.
Wow.
My opinion is, again, as a former butcher, I'm not vegan myself, but I don't have any problems with it. And here's why. I think of a lot of things philosophically, and philosophically, we can sort of eschew the notion of cuisine. We don't have to say it's Mexican or it's Japanese or it's Italian anymore. There's really only two left. It's delicious or it isn't. And if you can make me delicious food without using any animal products, go for it. I'm happy to eat it. All I want is delicious.
I've been to a couple really good vegan tasting menus because I didn't have a choice. It was like vegan month when I
Yeah.
visited Detroit. Well,
Right,
shoot, I
again.
guess I'm trying
Well,
it. And it was
Again,
good.
be vegan every Tuesday.
Yeah.
Don't drink
right.
and don't eat meat products. Don't eat animal products every Tuesday, and you've done it for 50 days of the year.
There you
What
go.
really
I like
innovates too,
it.
when some of the top restaurants in the world, place like 11 Madison Park, is
Man.
now a vegan restaurant, that's
That-
wild to me.
That was huge for us as a company. You know, we've been out here grunting along and doing vegan stuff for years now, and to have EMP be holding the title of #1 at the time and flip to vegan, very validating. You know, very very validating to let us know that we're out here doing the right thing. I know you're all about food, Eddie, and I think again, a short amount of time within our lifetimes, it's going to be a very expensive prospect to go to, let's say, a steakhouse, and it's going to be kind of out of most people's range to hit a steakhouse, even celebratory, even once a year, you know. And then I think that's going to translate to other animal products as well within our lifetime. We're going to see it be difficult because, frankly, it's the right thing for the world to do, and it's just leaning more and more that way every day.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go
I
buy
consider I'm
steak
gonna switch
now.
at some point to predominantly a
You got
plant-based
up and
diet
left.
later
You
in
went to buy
life.
steak.
Oh yeah, hey,
I heard him
take us
say
to the
that. And I
Korean
was like,
barbecue joint next door.
this was fun. See you later.
Adios.
So I love to find out people's drunk stories, and
Oh,
just
here we
finish
go.
this sentence for me.
Okay.
That night was crazy. I was so drunk that I
Woke up in Austin, Texas.
oh shit. Oh, you win. Wow. Bravo.
Yeah. We had gone down to New Orleans to frankly to do some eating and some drinking, and a friend of ours lived in Austin, Texas, which is not a short distance away. And we got just absolutely hammered and got on a bus. And woke up the next morning in Austin, Texas.
That's my favorite.
Oh, that sounds like the worst day too. Did you just hair of the dog it, or did you detox
Here-
yourself and get your ass back?
All right, this inevitably comes up, and here it is. So I'm gonna give you the truth here. There's a certain percentage of human beings on the planet that metabolize alcohol in a different way. That percentage is estimated to be as high as 25. So that's a lot of people. But there's a lot of people who don't drink, so they don't know it. There's a lot of people who are old or young, don't drink for whatever reasons, so they just don't realize they have it. I have never had a hangover. I can drink whatever I want. It doesn't matter.
God
Nice job.
bless you. Well, bravo, and
You're in
it's
the
still
right
amazing that you
business.
can still have discipline.
However, that's the thing. That's what the double-edged sword part, right? And I can describe that for you in one sentence as well. I lived in New Orleans for 3 years, so they tell me.
Thank you. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. I think I walked by the Anne Rice house. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I was there 3 years.
So they tell me.
So they
So
tell me.
tell me. That town beat me up, but yeah.
So I really want to acknowledge you and thank you for your honesty. Where can people find you? Of course, they can get your books on Amazon.
Yeah, sure. You can get them directly from me as well. I have a little
Even better.
store on Big Cartel. If you buy them from me, they're a little more expensive because I'm just me. But the reason the payoff there is that I will personalize them. I'll sign them to your name. But if you get them on Amazon or your local bookstore, of course, would be the better option. I'm a small business. I'm always rooting for small business. Amazon doesn't need any more of your money.
Yeah,
or
you're
your
one of the
information.
good
Or
ones.
your information.
And
They're taking over the world. They're taking over football. I'm
Yeah.
glad I have a membership, but my God.
taking over football.
But my store is it's on Big Cartel, so bigcartel.com, and then search Creative Drunk. I'm Creative Drunk on all social media as well. And then on my Creative Drunk Cartel store is also my 2 bitters. I've launched my own 2 bitters. Launched one last Christmas and one this Christmas. Driftwood is cinnamon and grapefruit, which is a flavor that simply doesn't exist, and I'm so shocked to know that because cinnamon syrup and grapefruit juice is Dawn's mix in many classic tiki drinks. But I was like, why can't I have that flavor in the bitter world? So I made cinnamon and grapefruit bitters called Driftwood. And then this year I launched Garden Party. Garden Party is cucumber, cucumber, ginger, and basil. And so I feel like the Driftwood is kind of your all-purpose darker spirits bitters. So I wanted to make the other side of that coin. Garden Party is very amenable to all the lighter spirits. But again, there's no wrong answer. The only way to misuse bitters is to misusing the bitters.
Well, and when you watch his videos, I love that he's very specific about what a dash means. Because you'll see that on a recipe, a dash, and depending on which bottle you're using, it can be a little different. But you give a really nice, at least a consistent measurement to
Correct.
your style of making drinks, and I think that helps people so much.
Yeah.
Just knowing that little finite way of how you do it, because they are then exactly making it like you.
Yeah, well, as close as they can. I also I'm always want to say my favorite quote at Coup, back to Coup. We knew we weren't going to be there for long, so we just decorated the walls with butcher paper that my partner actually is a letter artist, so she did all the lettering, and they were all protest signs of the time or quotes. And the quote that I asked to be put up there is one of my favorites. I live my entire life by this quote. It's not just at the bar or in the kitchen or whatever. Teddy Roosevelt said, "Do what you can with what you have where you are." So, if you don't have the right mixing glass or the right spoon or the right glass to serve in or the right ice, do what you can, what you have where you are. You're going to have a great time.
Sother, you are a gentleman, and we would love to have you back in the future. Whenever you have that new distillery, we have all of the good juju and good vibes going for you. We would love to have some here on Kill the Bottle podcast and chat about it with you. We end the show,
but that would be great. It's going to be called Mountain Chase. That's the name of the farm that he inherited. His dad passed away, kind of a father figure to me as well. But it's a big old farm, and we're going to hopefully put a distillery there.
Well, the only thing we don't
theme song.
Right,
Mountain Chase. That has so
Chase.
many things running through my head. I'm thinking Irish drinking song happening
Let's
with
go.
that.
I love it.
Coming your way, Mountain Chase. Yes.
Sure.
Sother, thanks so much for spending some time with us here on Kill the Bottle. Guys, please subscribe, rate, review. Check out Sother's Speak Easy podcast. I found it easily on Spotify, and great liquor talk on there. He had an interesting chat about Fireball there, Megan. So I know you're a Fireball fanatic. So we have to send you that episode so you can listen to him dissect the Fireball situation. So guys, look at Megan. Megan rarely gets like excited. She's like, Megan has these very big expressive eyes. I asked him about his I got so drunk that she fucking leaned forward, like face in front of the camera. Yeah. What is it? Anyway, sorry. I'm here trying to give this guy some time to go home and chill out. He's already home, but anyway, thank you, Sother Teague. We appreciate you guys. Follow him, love on him, support him. He is one of the good ones. See you next week on Kill the Bottle podcast.
Thanks so much, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.